Many podcasts do need music, be it an intro, outro, short transition, or a full score. In this video, I want to talk about how I make music for podcasts. Hi, it's Mike from Casefile and Casefile Presents. On this channel, I'm releasing videos on podcasting, so if you enjoy the content, hit the like button. There are a few different ways how music works in podcasting. First are, I would say, sort of this more simple shows, like interview style shows, where you only need intro and outro. And to do that, you can either create one yourself, you can commission someone to do it for you, or you can just buy it from royalty-free websites. There's loads out there. Second style is throughout the show, within the episode, using short transitions, stings. And these are sort of short musical cues that indicate that something is happening within the episode, within that moment. And these can repeat themselves throughout the episodes, throughout the series, and more than often are quite simple, but not always. The third sort of style, I would say, is a full score. And you can hear that in fiction podcasts, in dramas, in true crime podcasts, in storytelling podcasts. And this is what I do for majority of our sort of Casefile Presents shows, as well as Casefile. Even though with Casefile, it's more of a background style music running alongside the narration, but it's still an integral part and is a full score. Like, it runs throughout the episode. Now, for me, creating these transitions and short stings requires different approach to writing a full background score. So when I'm working on cues or transitions, I'm looking at the music that I want to stand out. I want the cue to indicate to listener that something is happening, they have to pay attention to it. So it's more in your face kind of style. Now for background score, the one that I do for Casefile and other true crime shows, I'm looking for more of a ambient music, more in the background, one that doesn't really take away your attention, the attention of the listener, from the narration. So I don't want to use anything harsh. I don't want to use melodies that will clash with the dialogue. I'm looking at textures, I'm looking at pads, I'm looking at soft piano. Of course, where there are scenes like something's happening, then I may use a rhythmic section or fast-paced bass, kind of arpeggio or something, but nothing more than that really. With Casefile, we got an episode per week pretty much, plus other shows on top of that. Now, creating a bespoke score for each of these episodes is impossible. And over the years that I've been doing that, I came up with few tricks that allow me for speed, consistency, efficiency, and originality to a degree. And that means that the listener will not hear the same score repeat twice when they listen to various episodes. Let's now jump to my pro session, where I will show you how I approach creating background music for Casefile and this type of score, and just show you a few tricks. Right, welcome. I want to show you one of the tricks, how I sort of make my music libraries and keep them original, even though I don't really write an hour of music every week. And this is just a shortcut that I came up with over the years of working with podcasts and writing music for Casefile and other shows. So here we have musical cue that I've just prepped, a really short one for a test. Let's listen to it. Okay, very simple piano. It will work nicely as a background music for podcast for narration. This is just a little bit that I've taken from a cue that I've actually made, so I've cut out a little bit for the purpose of this video. Now, when I create a musical cue, I always try to make it so it has three components, at least the three elements, which is bass that I can use for low instruments and rhythms, middle that will be for pads and chords, and then top melody. But I don't want it to clash with narration too much, so the top melody cannot be too complex or like quick arpeggios, things like that. And when we go into MIDI, you'll see that this is the melody, that's our mid, and that's our bass. What I then do is I take and copy that 3 times and keep each element on a separate MIDI track, muting the other two. So now what we end up with is melody, mids, and the bass. It still sounds the same. Because obviously if I didn't mute it, then each one of these ones would be the same when I commit to audio files, which I'll show you in a second. Okay, so that's a nice melody. We got that nice piano. However, I don't want a piano there, I want something else. I think electronic piano sound will be much better. And in order to do that, we can go into like all and go find, I have lots of libraries there. Let's go into electric pianos. I know there's, a lot of them that I can use. And let's go for something classic that I used to sort of have a lot in the past. Kind of retired it because I've used it too much, but they're really nice, sort of soft electric pianos, okay? And I want to have each element exported as that piano, bass as well. Even though we might look for another type of bass later on, I want to have it as well. So what I do next is commit to audio. And I will do that for each of the elements. I need to create a shortcut for it actually, because I use it quite a lot and I'm being lazy. As you can see, we now have top melody, mids, and our bass. So if we mute the MIDI completely, that's our audio. What else do we need? Let's say we need some kind of rhythm, to add that tension. What I then do is unmute only the bass, go back to my Omni, and let's find some good percussions. I'm gonna lower that a little bit so it's not in our face too much. Let's find something good. That's pretty good. Okay, nice. And I'm missing some kind of part, maybe even choir, but not, I wouldn't say a standard choir, but some sort of voice. Gospel choirs, that's not gonna work. Human vocal noise, human synth. Let's do. It's a bit too much. No, we don't want that. Right. Well, you can get lost in that. There's so much stuff. Let's say classical. We want something. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Maybe I can add bass as well. Okay. So I'm gonna do mids and bass as well as a choir. What we're now end up with is 6 audio tracks that we then mix to our narration. Later on, of course, we don't have any narration there. And if you listen to it, each element has their own track, of course. And that allows us to nicely mix it into narration. Okay, so I'm not going to actually use automation and stuff like that, but I just want to show you on an example how would that then sort of sound. Let's say I'm muting because I don't really want to use the automation. Okay, so let's imagine it's a scene now within a podcast. Starts with rhythm. Let's move that a bit. Bit of bass. And that's how I build my musical cue. But that's not the only trick, right? I want to show you how I make it so I don't have to create so much music. So let's say this one is 5 minutes long. Now, for an hour-long episode, because we work in tandem with Andrew, I sort of score half the episode more than half sometimes, so I need 30 minutes of music, right? I'm gonna delete all these tracks. Now, if I was only to create that one 5-minute cue, then I still need to write 25 minutes, right? That's not gonna happen. That's not gonna happen on a weekly basis. I haven't got that much time. So what I do is imagine this 5 minutes. I then duplicate it 4 times. We go into my second copy, and let's say for this one we want guitars. What I then do is let's get some vintage. right? And then again, commit, add some rhythm, add some pads, few textures that allows us to mix and match during actual scoring and mixing. And what then happens is, I'm gonna mute that. What then tend to happen is, let's say we got our podcast, we're listening to one bit, nice vibe happening there. Okay, you move on. 5, 10, 15 minutes later, other cue is happening. Right? Exactly the same cue, exactly the same music, different textures, different instruments, another remix. And I tend to have 4 versions of the same cue in each library session, and 2 musical cues. So that gives me 8 variations in total of 2 themes. 8 times 5, 40 minutes, and that's more than enough for a standard length of episode to keep it varied, to have enough options that the listener will never hear the same music twice, even though it is the same thing. But because I have so many options, it allows me for variety and speed. So that's one of the tricks I want to show you today. A little bit of cheating, I guess, on my side, but it works extremely well for what I do. So that's how I create background music, background score for podcasts. If I was to write theme music, of course, that would be a different approach. If I was to create stings or transitions for a different style of a podcast, again, that would mean a different approach, but that's a material for future videos. On top of that, we are looking at mixing all these textures to the narration so they fit what's being actually said, what's happening within the story. But we'll talk about it in the future. As far as my sort of tips and tricks go, the one that I showed you, that's the biggest one that I've been using, but there are also others that help me keep the score varied and original, so I don't repeat myself, and yet I can create sort of that much music week in and week out. But that's it for today. I'm Mike Migas. If you enjoyed this video, well, you can check the rest of my channel. For now, share, you can like or subscribe, and I'll see you later.